Okay, let's just get right into it. That's a pretty bold claim, right? The idea that you can crush a test as tough as the GRE math section with just one simple trick, it sounds a little too good to be true. But what if it isn't really a trick at all, but a complete change in how you see the test? Let's find out. So this is the central question we're tackling. For anyone who's spent weeks, maybe even months just staring at practice problems, the idea of a single powerful strategy, well, that's incredibly appealing. So the big question is, does it actually exist? Because let's be honest, this is the real goal, isn't it? We're not talking about a small bump. We're talking about a significant leap in your score, a jump that could literally be the difference maker for getting into that dream grad program you've been eyeing. So that's the promise. But how do we actually make it a reality? Okay, first things first, we have to talk about something a lot of you might be feeling right now. I call it the score ceiling. It's that incredibly frustrating point where it feels like no matter how much harder you work, your score just will not budge. So if any of this looks familiar, you are definitely not alone. The clock is always ticking, right? The sheer volume of formulas and concepts can feel totally overwhelming. And then there's that test anxiety that just creeps in, and it all leads to that stagnant score. It really is like running on a treadmill. You're putting in all the effort, but you're not actually getting anywhere. And, that feeling of being stuck on a treadmill, it leads to a really crucial question. What if you've been fighting the wrong enemy this whole time? What if the problem isn't the math itself, but the method you're using to attack it? Just think about that for a second. You've already proven you can do the math. You got into college. The GRE isn't testing some super advanced calculus. It's testing how well you can solve problems under a ton of pressure. So what if the key isn't more math knowledge, but a smarter way of thinking? This slide, right here, just perfectly contrasts the two paths. Over on the left, you've got the classic hard work approach, more memorization, more grinding through endless practice problems. But look at the right side, the smart strategy. This isn't about more work, it's about really understanding the test's design. And that right there is the crucial shift. And this brings us right to the heart of it all, unveiling this one simple trick. But I want you to think of it less as a hack or a shortcut, and more like a completely new operating system for your brain whenever you're taking the GRE. Yeah, let's be super clear about this. This is not about skipping the work. No way. It's about making the work you're already doing actually count for something. It's a powerful strategic shift that will literally change how you see every single problem on the test. So what is it? Well, we call it thinking like the test maker. It's basically the art of looking at a question and not just seeing a math problem, but seeing a carefully constructed puzzle. It means you're using the very design of the test, its multiple choice format, its patterns, its predictability. You're using all of that against itself. So this big strategy really breaks down into three core pieces. First, you learn to reverse engineer the question to figure out what it's really asking. Second, and this is huge, you treat the answer choices not just as options, but as actual clues. And third, you start spotting the logical shortcuts that the test makers, maybe by accident, leave behind for you. All right, that's enough theory. The only way to really get this is to see it work. So let's put this whole strategy into action with a couple of real examples. Okay, here's a pretty simple algebra problem. Now, the traditional way is to subtract 5 from both sides, then divide by 2. Sure, it works, but let's try our new method. So instead of solving for x, let's just work backwards from the answers they gave us. Let's start with choice C, the number 3. Just plug it in. Does 2 times 3 plus 5 equal 11? Yep, 6 plus 5 is 11. Boom, done. We found the answer in seconds, with really simple arithmetic and basically zero chance of making an algebra mistake. See how powerful just using the answers can be? Okay, that first one was just a warm-up. Let's try something that usually stumps people, an averages problem. The brute force method here involves some pretty big numbers and multiple steps. It's so easy to make a small error. But what does someone thinking like a test maker do? A strategic thinker doesn't just dive in and start calculating. They think about the logic first. We know, just by looking at it, that the new average has to be a little bit higher than $50,000. Now, the method on the screen works perfectly fine. Find the total, add the new salary, and divide by the new number of people. But the strategic insight is realizing this is just a weighted average problem. Understanding that concept is way faster and safer than just memorizing formulas. You're focusing on the core logic instead of just plugging in numbers. So solving those problems, it felt different, right? A lot more in control. And that's because you weren't just doing math. You were dissecting a puzzle. This, right here, is your new mindset. And it is the most direct path to that higher score.
I absolutely love this quote because it just perfectly captures the entire philosophy. The GRE math section is not a test of your mathematical genius. It's a test of your problem-solving efficiency. Your job, plain and simple, is to find that fastest path.
So here's your takeaway toolkit. Number 1, prioritize strategy over just memorizing stuff. 2, train yourself to think like the people who actually write these questions. And 3, never ever forget that the answer choices are part of the question, so use them. And this is the final question I'm going to leave you with. From now on, every single practice problem is an opportunity. It's an opportunity not just to find the right answer, but to practice this whole new way of thinking. So, are you ready to make that shift?